What's going on, guys? Thanks for watching. Keep calm and game on. In this episode, we're watching some more news stories. We are currently on Fox News official YouTube channel. The name of this video is titled Mike Waltz Says All Options Are on the Table, Ending the Ukraine War. So we're just going to watch, random videos, react to it in real time. If you guys are watching this live, feel free to drop some comments down below. But yeah, let's just hop in and see what's going on in the world today, shall we? I think we shall. So let's get this party started. Give it a thumbs up, and I'm already a subscriber. If you guys want to check this video out for if you want to check this video out for yourself, I'm gonna post a link in the chat if you guys want to check it out. Without my commentary, it is right there in the chat for you guys to watch. Let me pin that real quick. There you go, at the top of the chat. And I think we are good to go. Yes, yes. Okay, cool. All right, here we go.
Mike Waltz, thank you so much for being here, sir.
Thank you.
So yesterday, Mike, leaders from 25 countries convened on a call.
25 countries,
they
dang.
concluded that Putin's statements this week showed that he is not serious about peace in Ukraine, but the Trump administration is still expressing cautious optimism. In fact,
it's good to be
has
optimistic.
stated
I think it's good to be
Putin
optimistic. I don't know what's wrong with that.
Ceasefire proposal. Take a listen here.
I think the question is, are we actually moving towards a ceasefire, or is this a delay tactic? I'm not going to answer that because I can't characterize that for you right now. I think we'll know sooner rather than later.
So it's been a few days now. What is the answer? Is this a delay tactic, or are we moving toward a ceasefire?
Well, Jackie, look at where we were just a few months ago, where we essentially had no prospect of peace. You're literally losing hundreds of thousands of people on the front lines, billions of dollars, and just a meat grinder of men and material. Look, we've gone from that to, as the NATO Secretary General said in the Oval Office to President Trump this week, Mr. President, you've broken that logjam. You now have both sides not talking about if this war is going to end. We're negotiating how the war is going to end. And that's tremendous progress. In Saudi Arabia just this week, after I think what we would all agree was a very difficult and unfortunate Oval Office session with President Zelensky, we now have the Ukrainians saying, yes, we will agree to stop the fighting.
See, Trump's getting people to talk. People are starting to talk.
Look at a ceasefire, but there's some things we want
under Biden.
Meanwhile,
nobody was talking.
To the Europeans, I had all of my counterparts, British, French, and German counterparts in Washington on Friday, and we are taking a hard look at what it's going to take to not only stop, have an immediate end to the fighting, but then broader issues like moving trade again on the Black Sea, stopping the aerial attacks on infrastructure, and then the broader deal and what components that will be to have a permanent end to this war. That's only in just a few months. It's going to be hard. It's going to be complex, but President Trump is driving the process forward.
Well, it sounds to me like the administration doesn't have the answer yet. It doesn't know whether Russia is delaying or not. The U.S. said the ball is in Russia's court. Is it still in Russia's court?
No, but Jackie, you did not. Look, you had President Putin go to a press conference before he sat down with Special Envoy Witkoff, and it was not a no. It was, here are some things, and we're going to talk about some things that they need to see, and they're very focused on how this whole thing ends.
Okay.
And we are very focused on making it permanent.
A lot of people focusing.
Forward,
a lot of focusing.
Kind
I
of
like it.
fits
I
and
like it.
That we've seen in the past.
So,
none of that was on the table under the last administration. It was just as long as it takes, as much as it takes, and this.
That's true. Biden was just handing out money like candy.
In anyone's interest.
He's like, here's a billion, here's a billion, here's a billion.
of global peace.
You get a car. You get a car. You get a car. No,
Service
no, Biden.
uncovered a document that was
No.
prepared for the Kremlin the same week the president's team met with the Russians in Saudi Arabia. According to the Washington Post, it details much of what we've already seen play out, basically telling Russia how to stall while it continues to dismantle the Ukrainian state. It, quote, lays out ways in which Russia could boost its negotiating position by exacerbating tensions between the U.S. and both China and the European Union, by proposing U.S. access to Russian minerals, including territories it occupies in Ukraine. It also goes into how Putin should reject peacekeepers, propose demilitarized zones along the border. How do you know President Trump isn't being played right now by Putin?
Well, look, that's almost laughable.
Played by Putin. Okay, sure.
With the likes of,
how did we know
Kim
Biden
Jong-un,
wasn't getting played by
with
Putin? That's what I want to know. I mean, I feel like he was getting played.
Ahead of his predecessor, and really,
I feel like he
as
was.
Both President Putin and Zelensky said on our first call just a few weeks ago, only President Trump could drive this to an end. Only
If you guys are
President
just
Trump
popping
could
in, we
bring
are
this,
watching
look.
these people talk about
Jackie,
the
we know who we're
Russian-Ukraine
dealing with.
war.
We know who we're dealing with on all sides.
We're just reacting to different news stories happening today within the past few days. A lot of crazy stuff happening around the world.
To get both sides to the table, but to also resolve.
But if you are
this in a
watching, feel
way
free to
that
drop
is
some
permanent
comments
and
down
enduring.
below.
Speaking of the carrots and sticks, the president has threatened sanctions. Are we going to see those this week?
Oh, I'm not going to get ahead of the president or those decisions, but he has put that out there on the table, and he has also put a broader and different bilateral relationship with Russia on the table. And so I think a fundamental question for the Russians, do they want to keep grinding forward? What's this situation going to look like as they lose massive amounts of men and material on this, essentially what is World War I style trench warfare at this point? Or do they want to evolve the relationship and get back to stability and growth for their economy and their people?
Okay.
That's what's the decision that's laying before them. But the process of engaging in diplomacy on both sides, I just find incredulous that the Trump
Incredulous,
administration is
that's
being
a big word.
criticized for when the
Incredulous.
alternative was endless war and endless death and destruction.
He punished Zelensky when they wouldn't agree to an unconditional ceasefire.
What does
withholding
incredulous
military aid
mean?
and intelligence sharing, and a lot of people are asking.
I have never heard
is
that
the
word
president
before.
Gonna punish Putin too?
Of a person of their manner,
All options
unwilling
are on
or
the
unable
table,
to
Jackie,
believe
absolutely,
something.
But I think that's a bit of a spin in the sense that
Interesting.
President Zelensky had an opportunity to bind our economy
Unwilling or unable to believe, doubting, skeptical, showing doubt or disbelief. An incredulous look.
Growing the pie
Okay.
in their economy and their natural
That's the first time I've ever heard that word.
And in a way that would completely redefine our assistance. That was an opportunity that was missed that day. But look at where we were after
See,
the Saudi
Biden's strategy
talks
was
this
let's
week.
just keep
We've
giving
got
money to
both
people.
sides
Let's
back
just
to
keep
the
printing
table,
money.
and we're
Trump has a
driving the other
different
side as
strategy.
well.
I like
wanna
Trump's
move
strategy
to
better.
the airstrikes on
I
Houthi
like
targets
Trump's
in
strategy
Yemen.
a lot better.
Officials called this
But
an
that's just me.
opening salvo for the attacks on shipping in the Red Sea.
What do you guys
It
think? Drop a
followed
comment. Let me know.
The president reaching out to the Ayatollah, basically trying to restart talks on their nuclear program. Netanyahu's been pushing for the U.S. and Israel to do a joint operation on Iran's nuclear facilities. And the Ayatollah rejected the president's request for talks. Is that kind of a joint operation under consideration now?
Well, let's talk about the situation that we inherited in the Red Sea and the Suez Canal. We have not had a U.S. warship transit that area in over 4 months. We haven't had a U.S. flagged commercial vessel in over a year. 70% of global shipping has been diverted from two of the world's most strategic waterways, adding cost.
Because people keep attacking the cargo ships and stuff. And finally America's like, nope, not going to happen anymore.
That's completely unacceptable. But we're not going to do
Not
what
happening.
the Biden administration did in terms of this kind of pinprick back and forth. We hit the Houthi leadership, killing several of their key leaders last night, their infrastructure, the missiles. This is essentially al-Qaeda with sophisticated Iranian-backed air defenses and anti-ship cruise missiles and drones.
That doesn't sound good.
the entire global economy.
Okay.
President Trump showed leadership, and we just hit them with overwhelming force and put Iran on notice.
Overwhelming
that enough,
force.
with its backing of the
You don't
terrorists
mess
and
with
providing
America.
them
I'm
the most
sorry. You
sophisticated
don't mess
weapons,
with America.
that
No.
have attacked our warships dozens and dozens of times. All of that alongside an offer of diplomacy in terms of all options are on the table for their nuclear program.
We're out of time, but I want to get very quickly one last question. Israel, the U.S. rejected an offer from Hamas for what they called a disingenuous offer on hostage release. How long
Hamas needs to just give back the
Hamas
hostages.
have
Full
to
stop.
release all remaining hostages before Israel resumes its campaign in Gaza?
Should have never taken the
Not long.
hostages in the first place.
That was a bogus offer. It was just another stab in the heart to those poor families. But I will say that the last administration, 15
If you're just popping in,
months,
welcome
did
to the
not
stream,
complete
guys. Drop
ceasefire.
those comments.
We now have 31 hostages that are alive.
Let me know what time it is where you guys live. It is currently 11:25 my time.
Both sides of the negotiating table and got those people out. President Trump's determined to get them all out, but Hamas cannot and will not be allowed to rule Gaza into the future.
We will keep watching for it. National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, thank you so much for your time,
National
sir.
Security Advisor. Okay. What else we got? Big tax cuts. Forbes chairman says tax cuts will boost economy. Do we watch that one? Do we watch, what do you guys think? What do you guys think? Which video should we react to next? America borders are closed. Trump chief sends message to entire world. Let's go with this one. Let's go with this.
A federal judge temporarily blocking President Trump's executive order to fast-track the deportations of alleged Venezuelan.
I think a judge is trying to block, but I think Trump sent him anyway.
With the latest.
I saw a video earlier, and Trump sent him anyway.
Good morning. President Trump invoking this
goodness.
rare Alien Enemies Act of 1798. Trump declaring that all Venezuelan citizens who are 14 years or older and are members of Tren de Aragua are considered unlawful and are not allowed to become permanent residents here. Well, yesterday, the ACLU filed a lawsuit claiming the Alien Enemies Act is unlawful, and a judge sided with the ACLU. And ultimately, regardless of whether
what else is unlawful? Coming here and like robbing people and doing much worse things.
Chief U.S. District Judge
That's
James
unlawful.
Vosberg of the D.C.
You break the law, you
argued
don't deserve
that
to
the Alien
remain in
Enemies
the
Act
country.
could be used against
Simple as that.
Venezuelan citizens, so he granted a temporary restraining order preventing the deportation of 5 Venezuelans yesterday who were already in U.S. custody. Now, it's not clear if the 2 planes that were ordered were returned to the United States. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi responding, writing, quote, "Tonight, a D.C. trial judge supported Tren de Aragua terrorists over the safety of Americans. This order disregards well-established authority regarding President Trump's power, and it puts the public and law enforcement at risk." Now, as the number of illegal migrant crossings,
It's crazy that some judges and some people out there think all of these people that are breaking the law and like doing these terrible things should stay here.
This is an announcement
Why?
to the entire world.
Why should they stay here?
Borders are closed if you want to come here illegally. We only want people in our country who love America and want to follow our laws.
And on the topic of TDA, I've been investigating and tracking just one Venezuelan migrant over the past couple of weeks, a suspected TDA gang member in Chicago. Pedro Colmenares was deported in 2022 under Biden, yet he was arrested and released 3 separate times in Chicago.
3 separate times?
ICE tried to get a hold of him, but
Biden,
Cook
what were
County
you doing?
denied a detainer.
What was the
just
last
arrested
administration
a
doing?
4th time.
That is just
He
pathetic.
is a murder suspect, and he was arrested recently for kidnapping and sexually assaulting a woman.
Nah,
Back to you guys.
get him out. Get him out.
Finn, thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, we want to keep that guy here. Right?
Yeah,
we want to turn that flight around.
Yeah, bring the plane back.
Bring it back. Bring these guys back that arrested 4 times. Listen, you mentioned earlier, Joey, it was a good point. There's only 5 guys that were on that flight. So they're probably pretty well vetted, pretty certain that those were Tren de Aragua members.
Yeah, we spoke earlier with Jonathan Fay, former acting ICE director, and we're trying to understand Is this judge taking issue with this law?
What do you guys
really
think about
old law
this?
and the fact
Should
that
we
it's being
be
used at all, or is he
deporting
taking issue with,
gang
the way
suspects
the Trump
and
administration
members
is
that
towards a gang or terrorist
broke the
organization
law?
instead of a country? He seemed to really think that this is more the latter. But in any case, this is the same law that
I'm curious,
was
what do
used
you
to
guys think?
justify the internment camps in World War II, and it didn't get struck down by the Supreme Court then. So they've had a long time to decide if this law is something the president should be able to use. More on his reaction. Let's listen to Jonathan.
Do you guys think we should keep criminals here in America?
I think he really is overstepping his bounds, and I think he will be reversed, or ultimately they'll have a hearing on the merits. He'll probably rule against the Trump administration, and then it will get reversed with a higher court, because the executive branch has discretion to make these types of decisions, particularly in wartime. And remember, we've declared Tren de Aragua a foreign terrorist organization, but it really is a disgrace because this is the only way they can deport them, because some of them have status because of the Biden administration, even though they're gang members. So, you know, the Biden administration created this problem, this emergency, and the Trump administration is simply trying to protect public safety and national security here.
Yeah, it really is an obvious and extraordinary overreach by this judge. And, you know, and it's not like, you know, President Trump didn't just win an election based on promising to do exactly this. And you can't say, you know, the closest decider, the closest actor in all of this to the voters is Donald Trump. And Donald Trump is doing exactly what he spent the last 6 months, 12 months promising voters.
He's doing exactly what he promised, and his numbers are higher than they've ever been. America is back, boys.
Is going to usurp.
Why wouldn't we want people that break the law to not be in our
the
country?
Right to act as the executive and turn a plane around.
I mean, why wouldn't we?
Breathtaking to me.
You know, there's been a lot of issues that the Democrats even are
It's like, yeah,
clinging
somebody
to.
just murdered some
Even the
dude.
trans
Yeah,
issue,
let's keep
that
them here.
80-20, you
That
know?
seems
Here's
like a
another
smart
one. Who
idea.
would want these
No,
guys back?
if you
Who
think they
wants
should
Trinidad
stay
or
here
gang members
after
to
they
come
broke the
back
law
after
numerous
we
times,
tried to deport them. This is a no-winner issue.
then
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
nah.
Here to subscribe to the Fox News.
Nah. Okay, what else should we watch, guys? Let's go back. What else is happening today? Let's look at the videos. What else we got here? Canadian ambassador to U.S. We take seriously our sovereignty. Let's watch that one. This one's about Canada.
To be honest with you, Canada.
Any Canadians out there?
It doesn't. We don't need anything they have. This would be the most incredible country visually.
Do you guys
If you
think
look at a
Canada
map,
is
they
going to
do an
become the 51st
artificial
state?
line right through it between Canada and the U.S. Just a straight artificial line.
President Trump doubled down this week on talk of Canada becoming the 51st state as the trade war with our northern neighbor shows no signs of slowing down. That's despite Ontario Premier Doug Ford traveling to Washington to meet with Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. Joining me now to discuss the tensions, Canadian Ambassador to the U.S., Kirsten Hillman. Ambassador, thank you for being here.
Thanks so much for having me.
That was a big
Appreciate
desk.
it. So Canada's got a new prime minister, former central banker Mark Carney, but new leadership does not seem to be changing the president's tune about making Canada the 51st state. He said it again, as you just heard this week, sitting next to NATO's Secretary General. Does Carney take that seriously? Is that why these two leaders haven't connected yet?
I think we take seriously our sovereignty. We take seriously the will of Canadians, and over 91% of Canadians are, not interested in a discussion around joining the U.S. So I think he takes that seriously. And that's not a slight to the president, and that's not a slight
Well,
to the American
if we
people.
stop
It's an
giving
expression
you
of our own
$200 billion
patriotism and our
a
own
year,
sense of who we are as a country. So
and your
I think Prime
economy
Minister
tanks,
Carney
like
will
if
be
you can
looking to
succeed
see the
without
president
America, that's
as
fine.
soon as possible, and looking
But if
forward
you
to a
need
good and solid
us to
relationship.
Have they
survive,
reached out from either
then
side yet?
We've reached out.
I don't know.
And we're looking forward
maybe
to having that,
being the
having
51st
them
state
connect.
is something
Okay.
you guys need to consider.
Your foreign minister,
I'm not
though,
saying it should
appears to
happen or
be
it shouldn't,
quite
but
alarmed,
if all
saying
we
that
get out of
Trump's
this,
tariffs are a tool to annex
these talks
Canada
and these
by
tariffs is
economic
us
force.
saving
She
money,
referred to
and
Canada
us
as
not
the
footing the
canary
bill
in
for
coal
everybody,
mine
then
and
I'm fine with
reportedly
that.
said at
If
the G7
Canada
this
wants
week,
to
if the US
remain
leaves to
Canada and
us,
not be
their
part of the U.S.,
closest
that's
friend,
fine.
then nobody is
But
safe.
we shouldn't have to
New
pay
York Times
$200 billion
also
a year.
reported this month that Canada's finance minister was spooked by a call
And if they
from
want to
Howard
tax
Lutnick
us
claiming
with
that
tariffs, then we're going
President
to
Trump
tax
had
them. Same
come
goes
to
with everybody.
realize that the relationship between the United
It's
States
simple.
and Canada
It's common
was
sense.
governed by a slew of agreements and treaties that were easy to abandon. Mr. Trump was interested in doing just that. That's just one report. But are you under the impression that any other aspect of the U.S.-Canada relationship is on the rocks right now besides trade?
I am not. I think that what we need to be doing, and I know that Prime Minister Carney wants to do, is to establish, a serious and professional conversation around the president's goals with respect to trade. We had a meeting with the Commerce Secretary Lutnick and USTR Greer this past week, and we understood from them his whole global agenda in this respect. And we talked about how Canada can fit into that. So that's the conversation we want to have. Serious conversation, respectful conversation. The new Prime Minister respects what President Trump's trying to do. He's trying to supercharge the U.S. economy for American people. And that's what he's also trying to do for Canada. So they have a lot in common. I think it'll be important to proceed with that discussion in a professional, measured way.
Your defense minister said yesterday that Carney asked him to review Canada's purchase of 88 F-35 American fighter jets. That was the biggest investment in the Canadian Air Force in 30 years, 19 billion Canadian dollars.
19 billion?
Is military
Dang.
cooperation between these two countries through NORAD in question, or is Canada just looking for a new best friend?
Well, I think we're always looking for many friends. I think that the world is a dangerous place. Your previous interview just with Mr. Waltz shows that it's a very complicated and dangerous place. So we want to have all of the strongest alliances that we can. We're your neighbor. We protect this continent together. We protect Canada is really very serious about all of the investments we're making in protecting the Arctic. So that is homeland is a huge priority for us, and our homeland is your homeland. Okay. But beyond that, obviously there are many other allies that we want to be working with as well.
You were in a meeting this week with Secretary Lutnick and the U.S. Trade Representative.
Yes.
Did you walk away from that meeting with the impression that Canada can do anything to avoid the reciprocal tariffs the president's going to impose on all countries on April 2nd?
April 2nd, it's coming.
Clear to tell us that
April 2nd's coming,
April
boys.
2nd, there will be
He didn't want to do it on April 1st
because
because he's superstitious. But April 2nd, we're going to be tariffing everybody. It's going to get crazy, boys.
For the United States. We are your biggest customer. We buy more from
What do you guys think of the tariffs?
On the planet.
Think they're a good idea, bad idea? Kind of in the middle, don't have an opinion on them?
Manufactured goods
What do you
trade
think?
In all sorts of areas.
Let me know in the
trade
comment
where
section.
Americans are building things. And that is hopefully a relationship that can continue in a really productive way. So we talked a lot about that.
Is Canada working to adjust its tariff rates right now? The president's also looking to use these reciprocal tariffs to drive new agreements on everything from exchange rates to subsidies. So what's in the works from the Canadian side?
I think we're going to wait and see what the U.S. president does, what President Trump does. We have an arrangement, the USMCA, that governs our trade. It was negotiated by President Trump. That is the arrangement that we felt was fairly effective, and he clearly wants a new one. And so we'll have to look at all of the different possibilities there for Canada, because in these kinds of negotiations, both sides will come to the table, with things that they'd like to see different.
We're going to come to the table.
New deals obviously take time.
We're going to come to
and
the
that
table.
time
Don't you
could
guys worry.
have a bigger impact on the Canadian economy.
America's
than the US
back,
economy.
boys.
The New York Times reports economists
We're
believe the
done
tariffs
getting
imposed
ripped
so
off.
far, Canada's
Not
retaliation against
anymore.
U.S. imports, and the overall atmosphere
Not
of
anymore.
volatility
Sorry.
and uncertainty could tip Canada into a recession.
The free
this
ride is
year.
over.
What's Canada doing right now to avoid a recession?
Well, so just as I say, our new Prime Minister, that's his core focus, is the Canadian economy, strengthening the resilience of the Canadian economy, and being able to make it through these more turbulent times in a way that is as good as possible for Canadians. So that includes a lot of domestic investment. That includes looking at our energy proposition. That includes looking at diversification of our trading relationships. There's a lot of different things that we'll be looking at here just to make sure that we're doing the best for Canadians.
Carney doesn't hold a seat in Parliament. His party holds a minority in the House of Commons. He's going to have to call an election, federal election, very soon here. Liberals have made gains in recent weeks, but according to recent polling in Canada, the Conservatives are still favored. Carney's tenure basically could be very short. Is that having any impact right now on talks to rebalance the trade relationship.
I feel like
You know,
there's probably some
fundamentally,
Canadians that want to be part of the
Canadian
U.S.
interests are what
There's
they
probably
are,
a
regardless
lot
of who is
that
governing our
don't.
country. And
But
if
there's
you
probably
listen to the
a
leadership,
handful of people
political
that want to
leadership in
be
Canada
part of the
across
U.S.,
spectrum,
I think.
very similar messages are being conveyed. One, Canada is strong and proud independent nation. Two, Canada is going to focus on making sure that it's strong
The
in its own economy. That it's taking
Canada
care of,
Prime Minister will call for
our
federal
own business.
election soon.
And then
We'll see what
making
happens.
sure that we have an effective and productive and successful
I've never been to
relationship with
Canada.
our neighbor and biggest trading partner. There
Seems
are
like a
nuances in how
beautiful
those
place,
messages are
though.
conveyed. There are differences in priority in other areas, but on the Canada-U.S. relationship and our economic relationship, I think you're going to hear pretty much the same thing across the board.
We still have hockey, right?
We still have hockey. I would like to mention the win, but we still have hockey, and honestly, that game was incredible. The best players in the world all together on the ice. It was a remarkable moment.
I didn't watch
Kirsten Hillman,
the
thank
hockey
you for being
game.
here.
I heard we
Appreciate you so much
lost
for having
though.
me.
Was it like 3-4 or
Hi,
something?
Brian
2-3?
Kilmeade.
It might have
I
been
want you to do me a
2-3.
favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page.
I'm gonna hit that like button. What other videos do they have? Fox News. What other videos do you have? I don't know. What would be a good one to watch next, guys? What would be a good one? Levis, Omi, where you in, Levis? How's it going, man? How's it going? What do we got here? What do we got? Go with this one.
I have. They don't get charged on foreign. I'm sorry, have you ever paid a tariff? Because I have. They don't get charged on foreign companies. They get charged on the importers.
And ultimately, when we have fair and balanced trade, which the American people
Fair
have
and
not
balanced
seen
trade.
in
That's all we
decades,
want. That's all we
As I
want.
said at the beginning, revenues will stay here, wages will go up, and our country will be made wealthy again. And
Yeah,
I think
boy.
it's insulting that you are trying to test my knowledge of economics and the decisions that this president has made. I'm now regret giving a question to the Associated Press.
And that is an Associated Press reporter challenging White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt this week on the president's tariff policy in what has become a regular pushback from AP, which is also, by the way, refusing to call the Gulf of America by its newly changed name. Joining me now is the woman herself in the Sunday Morning Futures exclusive, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt. Caroline, thanks so much for joining us.
It's great to see you, Maria. Thanks for having me.
How would you characterize the quote-unquote resists and the challenges from, I guess, AP has been pushing back on your press conferences pretty often?
Sure. Well, first of all, with that individual reporter from the Associated Press who tried to test me on tariffs, he clearly fails to see President Trump's
I like
long-term
Caroline
economic
Leavitt.
strategy, which is to bring
I think
in
she's a
so
really good
much
press
revenue,
secretary.
so much wealth into our country through tariffs that we can give larger tax cuts to the American people to put more money back into their pockets. He clearly didn't understand
Tax cuts
that
will
very
be
simple
nice.
idea. But as for the greater mainstream media's coverage, I think that example
I don't like
proves
being
that they are
taxed.
continue to double down on their failing
Especially if we're
ways.
just
They
using that
focus
money
on
to fund
sensationalism,
wars.
on trying to get a viral moment rather than asking tough questions with honest integrity and journalistic curiosity, wanting to know the answers. They want to make a name for themselves. And that's why the trust in the mainstream media has fallen to record lows. And that's why at the White House, we are very proud of the changes that we have made to the briefing room and also to the press coverage of this president, welcoming in independent voices and new media who truly care about the truth, honesty, and accuracy.
Yeah, but you know, it's more than AP. It's basically the Washington press in terms of resisting President Trump. You also have these judges who are resisting. We're going to talk about this most recent federal judge's move with Jim Jordan coming up. But what do you want to say about the general resistance to this president's policies that you are witness to?
President Trump is not shy of resistance.
Joe
He has
Biden
been
could just
facing
like
more resistance
sit
than
there on
anyone
the
who has
beach
ever run for
sleeping,
office in American history.
and the media wouldn't
the
say
mainstream
anything.
Media is part
Trump's
of that,
actually
but
out there
also, as
doing
you
stuff,
mentioned, we
and they're
have
like, "Oh,
judges
how
in our
dare you
judicial
do
branch
that?"
who are acting as
Nah.
activists, not real arbiters of the law. And there has been 15 injunctions in 1 month of President Trump's agenda. The Biden White House only faced 13 injunctions in the entirety of his presidency. And so clearly there are left-wing activists who sit behind a bench in a courthouse who don't like this president and his policies. But the fact is, everything President Trump is doing is within his executive authority to do it. He is acting
Yeah, there's
within the
judges
bounds of the
saying
law.
that we
All
shouldn't
of his
deport
actions are
criminals
constitutional, and
that have
our
broke the
White
law
House and the entire
numerous
administration
times.
are prepared to fight back against this resistance. Don't bet against President Trump.
Nah.
I think his epic return to the Oval
If
Office
you break the law,
proves
you don't
that
deserve
he is
to be
going
here.
to win against the weaponization of
It's
our
that simple.
justice system.
Yeah, let's get to some of the president's wins. And of course, you have to note the border as a major win. The daily
border
average
is
of
locked
migrants crossing
down.
the border illegally
Locked.
and escaping into the interior of the country
Locked.
has plummeted
Locked
to
up.
just 77 compared to an average of over 1,800 gotaways under Biden's fiscal year 2023. That's a decline of 96%
Dang.
of those gotaways from record highs.
21-day
The number
average,
of illegal
77
Chinese
people.
crossings, the Chinese crosshairs
Compared
also
to,
plummeting,
Biden.
with just 130 Chinese migrants apprehended by Border Patrol last month. That compares to over
That's crazy.
3,500 the year earlier under Biden. What do you want to say about the border crackdown? And here, too, the pressure and the pushback that the president is getting from some of these judges.
In just 1 month, President Trump has used his executive authority to secure our southern border. It proves
It's
that
only been a
everybody who
month,
claimed
boys.
we needed a
Well,
border
it's
bill was
probably been
wrong.
over a
We
month.
just
I
needed
think it's
a
been
new
like 50 days or
president
something.
Who actually cared about securing our
Has it been
homeland
50
and
days
enforcing
already?
our immigration laws. You mentioned daily gotaways, 77. That's an astronomical decrease from the previous administration. There's
If you're
been
just
a
tuning in, guys,
99%
welcome to the
decrease
stream. We are
of illegal
reacting to
migrants crossing through
news.
the Darien Gap. If you talk to Border
Very
Patrol
interesting.
agents and
We got
ICE
some
agents, they will
crazy
tell you
stuff
that
going on in the
camaraderie
world.
in these agencies is at an all-time high because they are actually being allowed to do their jobs. In breaking news this morning, Maria, the president signed a proclamation invoking the Alien Enemies Act against Tren de Aragua members who have invaded our country. These are the most violent, heinous criminal monsters you could ever imagine. They have taken the lives of innocent American women like Jocelyn Nungre and Laken Riley, and the president invoked
Get
this
'em outta
authority
here.
to
Get 'em out.
deport nearly 300 of them who are now in El Salvador, where they will be behind bars, where they belong, rather than roaming freely
We threw them in a
American
prison
communities.
in
This is
El
a massive
Salvador.
win for the American public, and it is going to
And a
save
judge
lives.
wants
It's
to
a
bring
great
them back.
point, and we're going to get into it right soon after this short break.
I don't know how these.
Secretary,
I don't know. I mean, I know why Kamala lost, because America was done with this crap. Trump said he was going to do these things, and he's doing them. And people are upset. Mainly the news is upset. The mainstream media is upset. I think the majority of Americans are actually happy with what's going on, because Trump's approval ratings are higher than they've ever been. What else we got here? What else we got here? I don't know. What else should we watch, guys? What else should we watch? I think we took out like the ISIS leader yesterday or the day before. Big tax cuts. You guys ready for some big tax cuts? I know I am.
Welcome back to Sunday Night in America. President Trump promised a golden age for America, but he never said it would be easy. Cutting the size and scope of government is hard, which is why it's so rarely tried. Change is hard. Ending wars is hard. Delivering bad news is hard. The economy is sending mixed signals. Inflation, job creation, unemployment, and the prospect of trade competition seem to have rattled the markets. The markets don't just impact people of wealth. Their pension plans and retirement savings and everyday Americans are impacted, and it's on a roller coaster. So when does it end?
when it comes to the stock market, the numbers that we see today, the numbers we saw yesterday, the numbers we'll see tomorrow are a snapshot of a moment in time. And as President Trump
The
has
stock
said, and I'm
market
here
goes
to echo
up,
the
it
remarks
goes
of
down.
this president
It's
of
that
this
simple.
White House, we are in a period of economic transition.
2.4% contraction?
Correct. First quarter.
Okay, right here, right now, that is ridiculous.
The president's not
Ridiculous.
relenting on tariffs, but neither are other countries. So where does that lead us? Joining us is Forbes Media Chairman and Editor-in-Chief Steve Forbes. Welcome, Mr. Forbes. I actually stopped looking at the market. I've been watching Silence of the Lambs. Yes, sir, you too. I've been watching Silence of the Lambs because it's less scary for me than looking at the stock market. So what's going on with the market?
Well, don't pay too much attention to Hannibal right now, but the uncertainty of the tariffs has really had businesses and individuals halting on their plans. They want to see what the rules of the road are going into the future. So the sooner the president can get stability in terms of setting these tariff rates, people know what the rules of the game are.
We need some stability.
Rates don't change 25, 50%, 10%, because that disrupts, it's not just prices, it's the supply chain. Who are you going to buy from in terms of materials, at what price? So the sooner that gets done, the better. But all of that underscores something, and you've been hitting on in the past, the need to pass immediately a big, beautiful tax cut bill to get real
let's get some taxes cut. Let's cut some taxes, boys. Let's get that economy stimulated. We got to cut them taxes.
That was good. So in terms of the tax bill, I hope your colleagues, former colleagues, throw away the roadblocks thrown up by the Congressional Budget Office, which is not in the Constitution, and
100%.
put a big tax cut in place. Not just renewing the tax cuts, Trey, but also cutting individual income tax rates. Get around this blue state obsession with deductibility of SALT, state and local taxes, and cut to 2 tax rates. I hate to get
Do you guys think
here,
Trump's doing a
but
good
there's
job?
Critical tax rates in the code: 22%
Yes,
and
no.
24% personal tax rates. It goes up to
Good job, bad job.
$395,000 for a couple filing jointly. If you cut those 2 rates down to 15%, that would give a huge boost to the economy. You combine that with what the president proposed during his campaign.
A huge
including
boost
Social
to the
Security,
economy,
getting
guys.
the
A
corporate
huge
tax
one.
rate
A
down
big
to
one.
15%, for profits made here and products and services sold here. You get this big, huge tax bill passed, and you'll see the markets behaving better. You'll see the economy behaving better. So get this stuff together, and we will
Get it
be
together,
able to see gold
boys.
on
Get
the
it
horizon.
together.
I am sure the guys and gals working on that reconciliation package are listening to you right now, Mr. Forbes. Let me ask you about tariffs and trade. It could be argued that no one actually wins a trade war. So what is the president trying to do, and how are other countries reacting, and where do you see this ending?
Well, the key thing is the hope was that the threat of tariffs and imposition of tariffs would focus, and we'll see in April when the president makes this big, huge proposal on tariffs, that other countries would reduce their trade barriers. So we get a reduction of trade barriers, which would be good for everybody. But you're right, tariffs are a tax, and economic theologians can argue as to who pays what proportion of it. But it is a tax, it is an expense. And so the sooner we get in a path where we can see that rates are going to be...
Well, guys, I think I need to call it a night because I'm starting to fall asleep. And the last thing I want to do is fall asleep while streaming. Just be snoring on my kitchen floor. But thank you guys for popping in. I will be streaming on and off tomorrow because I don't have to go to work. Today was my Friday, so I might actually play some video games tomorrow, react to some more news. Might do some other reaction videos of like movies that are coming out or video games that are coming out. If there's anything you want me to react to, leave a comment down below, or you can follow me on Twitter/X. Send me some stuff you want me to react to, and I'll try to make it happen. But yeah, thanks for popping in. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos like this, hit that subscribe button. And hopefully I will see you guys in tomorrow's live stream. Until then, thank you for watching. And remember, keep calm and game on. Toodles.